This person says minimum wage shouldn't exist. And I couldn't disagree more. There's a reason why minimum wage exists, and it's because without a legal provision like minimum wage, employers have shown that they will pay you as little as humanly possible. And people will say things like, well, then you just don't work for those employers. Easier said than done. Because when none of the employers need to abide by any type of mandatory minimum, then nobody wants to pay you what you're worth. Nobody wants to pay you anything. When you're an employer, one of your big costs, depending on what it is you do, is labor, is employees, is a workforce. And employers are always looking at ways to minimize their cost, their outlay, when it comes to all areas, especially the labor area. If you were to do away with minimum wage, there would be people making $1 or $2 an hour, and in industries that would most likely just go, yeah, fuck it, we're going to go back to the old ways. $1 or $2 an hour, that's all I'm willing to fucking pay you, and you couldn't find a job anywhere making decent money in certain industries. The minimum wage was created as a way to legislate a bare minimum livable standard for American workers. It was meant to be, and it was talked about in this manner, it was meant to be a livable wage. That even if you worked the jobs on, societal speaking, the lowest rung of the societal ladder, you worked 40 hours in this week, you were still going to be able to pay your bills. You were still going to be able to survive without government assistance. Only they never kept up with the cost of inflation. They never kept up with the cost of living. So minimum wage is sitting in an area that, quite frankly, is minimum wage is under $10 an hour. Has been since 2009. There isn't a fucking place in this world, in this country, that you could live on $10 an hour, let alone under $10 an hour. It needs not only to exist, but it needs to be strengthened, it needs to be raised. And it needs to be better formulated, in my opinion. I don't think that a one-size-fits-all minimum wage is necessary anymore. I think that we need to create a formula at the federal level that calculates cost of living in any given area, and then you use that calculation to determine the cost of living in the most expensive part of any state. So in my state of Illinois, that would be right in the heart of Chicago. That's your most expensive part, right? And then that cost of living wage is what the state of Illinois' minimum wage would be. Now, people will say people in downstate Illinois wouldn't need that. Yes, and if you want to break it down on a county-by-county basis, I'm down for the program. Let's do that. It just seems like a hell of a lot more work than just figuring it out on a state-by-state basis. But I think it should be federally regulated and implemented on the state level. But the minimum wage for California shouldn't be the same as the minimum wage for Alabama. But they should still have a minimum wage.